Lately, you can find everywhere videos on non-metallic metal, it seems. And this is why I decided to do a video on true metallics. Yay! I'm Riccardo Agostini and welcome to a new tutorial. In today's video we will talk mostly about true metallics and how to mix them with normal paints, inks and even heavy bodies, and how to do rust effects. So stay with me and let's get started. Okay, I start with some colors on the palette that you can see. Differently from the usual, I'm using a metallic one and an ink. The metallic is a Vallejo gunmetal, and it's used because it's very dark and it has a nice tone, base tone, but I am correcting it with the black and orange and also the transparent ink that makes it more liquid, and I'm using it as a base for the metal. You need to start with a dark base, and the way of painting it, for me at least, is like a non-metallic metal, basically, but with metallic colors. And I'm using also these Liquitex and golden heavy body colors because they are very transparent and a little bit glossy, and I will cover parts of the base that I did at the beginning to create a rusty effect. So I'm going over it and I am placing these colors where I think the shadows are going to be and the rust effect are going to be. So as you can see, I'm covering the work that I did before. So the reason why I do this kind of stuff is to cancel the shiny on the shadow parts. It's a little bit the opposite of non-metallic metal in the thinking, but the placing is the same, meaning that you cover the shiny part in the shadows, while in non-metallic metal you try to enhance the shiny part on the light. But of course with normal colors and not metallic colors. Since the metallic colors shine through and reflects lights based on how you turn the model, you should cover the shininess in the shadow for this reason, to avoid making a shadow look light, you know. So now I'm even darkening even more some shadow parts, some rusty parts, and I am covering even more the shiny because the metallic colors persist a lot in this. Kimera brushes. They are Kolinsky sable, super high quality, new shapes, especially made for painting miniatures. They are super good, try them, link in the description. Don't be worried if you make mistakes, you can always recover it with the metallic paints. It's easy, it's not a problem at all. So now I'm creating a lighter brown with the use of heavy bodies that are glossy and transparent, as I said, to start building a rust effect. So I need the browns in there. I need the browns to start to be visible. Unlike my hair, that I needed them more invisible. You know, it's very difficult to paint under a camera. Kudos to all the YouTubers that do that without making mistakes, because you need a lot of good equipment and good awareness. So not easy at all. And sorry for my mistakes, I'm not very good at it. Making it more orange and more light. One thing that is important in this is trying to stay in the mood of the rest of the model. So your rust should have the orange color of your model, or at least be in that camp. So you need to be careful in the type of orange, in the hue of the orange, and in the saturation of it. So since this piece is not that saturated after all, it's important that also your orange is not that saturated. So as you can see, I'm not using a real orange right now. I'm using a raw sienna, a burnt sienna, and a burnt amber to create this type of orange, because it would be, if I use just the Kimera one, it would be too strong basically. And this is why I'm using also these other colors and mixing them to match the saturation. It's not the easiest, this thing, to match the colors and create the right color for the occasion. You have to always think about, okay, what is the light of my piece? What is the overall saturation of the ambience? And judge with that knowledge in your mind, and try. If you make mistakes, of course you could cover and retake with other colors. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but you need to really think about this. Welcome back to the run segment. Here you can see me painting in real time, no speed up, and at the same time you can listen to me ranting about some topics, some random stuff. Don't take me too seriously, but hey, I like to say my opinion on things. Have fun. So today I want to talk about a topic that upset me, well, irks me a little, and it is about blending and agile lighting, and also on special effects on miniatures. So basically what I noticed recently is that in the socials we tend to, but sometimes also in contest, I have to say, well, more than sometimes, we tend to judge very favorably blending and special effects like object source lighting, for example. And people get like, oh my god, look at this blending, oh my god, look at this light red from the side, oh my god, boring, but this is me, all the time. Like if you show in the social, on Instagram for example, a thing that is perfectly, let's say perfectly blended, you get a shit ton of praise. Oh my god, how did you do this? Well, blending is just a technique. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not. But it is a technique, and it's not any different from any other technique. I don't see people praising, oh my god, you did this dry brush perfectly. No. I don't see people understanding how much more difficult it is to nail, for example, the color of the light and the saturation of the paints in every part of the model. Just, it's not understood. So what I see happening a lot is that in the lower segment of understanding in painting, we tend to praise the thing that we do understand. So we understand blending because it's the first thing that we are confronted with, one of the first at least, and then we praise it because, yeah, I can see that this guy is good because he can blend. But no people, no. This is not the important part. The important part is placing lights and shadow correctly and choosing the right color and saturation when you paint. This is the first good things, value and color. Blending, okay, can be there or not. For example, it's super easy to blend with airbrush or with oils. So if you think that blending is the important part, well, just change medium. Go oils, for example, and you'll see perfect blends all the time, because oils automatically blend. But it's not the point. The point is understanding value and color. This is painting. The other is just a technique. Well, one of the technique. And in the end, I see that Also lately in many contests the blending is very rewarded compared to instead nailing the atmosphere, nailing the light and shadows and the contrast. And this is upsetting me because, well, I studied art in university. I spent all my time looking at canvases, looking at how masters in the past painted those amazing canvas, and never once we talked about blending, because the other topics are so much more important, and it is time that people start to train their eyes to understand these other things. Composition, for example, that is important, that is a thing. Not blending. Blending is just time spent to refine a thing that maybe didn't even need to be refined. And also it's very easy to blend one color that has only a tonal value, meaning it goes from black to white with not much change in the value, like the dark and the light are very near each other. So it's easier to blend at that point because the passages that you need to do are so much less, and you just need to care about one transition. So yeah, this trend I really dislike, and I hope people start to understand that it's just a very small part about painting. It's the patience part, in a way, if you want to do it, but it's not really what makes a miniature look cool. So I urge you to start looking at stuff and start to understand composition, value, light, saturation. These are the things. And by saturation I don't mean that everything needs to be saturated, but I mean that the color that you place on a miniature is the right saturation. And about special effects is similar, like you do a colored light from a side and people start to go crazy, oh my god. But this is a cheap tactic to avoid composition most of the time. So I would like, maybe I should talk more about this, but I would like to see people concentrating on doing the fundamentals right first and then go into special effect if needed, because not every miniature needs a special effect. But fundamentals are fundamental for a reason in every miniature. So I would like to see recognition on fundamentals before. And fundamentals is value, composition, saturation, color of the light. These are the things. Concentrate on these points and then go on special effects when you are a master in those fundamentals. And blending, well, is needed only sometimes. Also because by blending you lose a little bit of the strength of the painting, the power of the painting. So if you concentrate only on blending, well, you make your miniature a little bit blunder, less powerful. In fact, if you look at canvases, at strong people like, I don't know, Rembrandt, for example, they didn't blend too much, but they went for power. And the power is achieved with strong touches, unblended. So I urge you to start looking at these things. But we will talk more about this topic because oh my god, I have rants for decades for this. Okay, during the rant segment I finished the rust part, and now I'm creating the lights on the metal itself. I'm using a model color metal aluminum mixed a little bit with a bluish ink because the light of this model are all bluish, and now I am creating a metal light that is matching with the rest of the model. It is very important that in the lights of a metallic paint you do not use opaque colors. It needs to be, if you want to tint it, it needs to be mostly transparent colors, or you will lose the shininess of the metal flakes because you'll cover it with the pigments. So you need to be the most transparent possible. It's not that you can't use it, but you will lose a little bit of the effect. So this is why I'm using an ink instead of a normal blue to tint this metallic paint. If you wonder why I use the Vallejo model colors, I do that because I think at the moment they are the best in the market, these specific ones. I didn't find anything that is better than that. So this is why feel free to try them, because I think they're really good at the moment. Except for one trick that you will see soon enough. So now I was creating some blood effect on the blade. It's not very visible in the camera, so I was just adding some blood stain marks somewhere in the middle of the blade. But it's not that important. I mean, it's up to you. If you want to create these extra effects, you can place them on top and be done with it. I also placed the blood effect on the stone. It's not very visible at the moment because the stone is unpainted, but I'm doing it on the nails and then at the end also on the stone. So what I'm doing now is recreating the palette. I didn't mix the color properly, but I'm recreating the palette that I started with to recover a little bit of the metal part. I'm doing it with a dry brush on top of the rust effect to show a little bit of extra shine in the bottom part of the blade. That is where I want the attention of the viewer to be focused. So I'm increasing this part in metallics and covering a little bit of the rust that was there. And this you can do with the dry brush technique. For metallics is quite good, especially if you want to do ruined metallics like I am doing there. So to do with a dry brush, you just discharge the extra color on the paper. And now you see that I'm doing it at the end, when I also painted the base to check the overall light effect on the model and understand if it is cool enough, visible enough, the lights are placed correctly. Always try to evaluate the model at the end and do the needed corrections. I'm mixing the aluminum with the gunmetal to achieve a lighter metallic effect, and correcting the bottom part of the blade. And now the trick, the Winsor & Newton silver ink. This guy is very powerful. It is super shiny, the most shiny thing I ever used. So I do the extra finishing touches with this one and they will be super strong. But since it's an ink, doing this at the end, because it will take a lot to dry actually, and you need to leave it in place without touching it for a while. And a while meaning a couple days even. So use it only for finishing touches. It's very strong, it's very cool, it's a super useful trick, but do it at the end. I'm doing some outlining on some parts that are needed, on the crevices and on some broken parts of the blade. But as you can see, this color makes all the difference in the world. And it tends to ruin your brushes, so use an old one. Thank you for staying with me all this time and for learning with this tutorial. Remember to give a like and maybe a comment on the video, it will help us with the algorithm, and see you in the next one. Bye!